Hello, my name is Zain Khan, and I'm here interviewing Elliot Callighan. So, thank you again for being here. Um, so yeah, introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Elliot Callighan. I'm a composer and sound designer based in Chicago, Illinois. I work in all different types of media, though primarily games. And outside of that work, I also teach at DePaul University in the film and game programs, both sound and music courses. And then I'm also a lieutenant in the Army National Guard and have been in the military for about 10 years. And it's the only reason I have short hair.
Exactly. So tell me about the games you've worked on.
So some of the games I worked on, first one is called Furious Seas, which is a pirate ship combat game, VR game. So you're actually standing on the ship and aiming cannons and firing at each other, and it's really fun time. Then I've also worked on Project Frequency, which is a procedurally generated horror game. Then also worked on Project Contingency, which is a fan PC Halo game as well, trying to emulate the multiplayer experience in that, as well as the Office type, which is actually a narrative focused game about different characters in an office setting. So lots of different weird
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay. I saw your portfolio sort of compilation on your YouTube, and it said that you worked on Battlefield One.
So I just did a rescore of the Battlefield trailer just for practice and just to have another
Ah.
portfolio piece. I
Yeah.
had started getting interested by trailer music,
Mm.
so I just wanted an opportunity to practice. And actually, since then, that practice has led to me getting some trailer trailer placements and
Oh,
acceptances for submissions. So that's
it's great.
good.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. I'm doing a college course. Um. And this project, which is the final major project, I'm sure you know what an FMP is. Um. It says basically I can make anything related to games, so I went with composing for a horror game because the
Hmm.
theme of the project is dreams and nightmares. So I went for a horror sort of aesthetic for that. So you told me that you worked for a horror game, Project Frequency. So when working on that game, how did you convey sort of the horror in that game?
So uh, we first off, I actually asked the developer for a number of references because there's a
Yeah,
lot of different ways to make things scary.
yeah.
And I remember that one of the biggest influences for them was soundtrack to Silent Hill 2, which if you
Oh,
take a second and listen to it, it's all these incredibly distorted, ugly,
mm,
mangled textures, a lot of metallic aspects to the sounds that they create, and it's very textural. Um, in addition, I latched on to the idea of the game being procedurally generated, or a lot of the aspects of the environment being procedurally generated. So every time you play through it, it's not the same experience. So you may enter the same structure or same area, and the contents of it will be very different than the time that you did before. So there's a lot of things
yeah,
that are unpredictable. So while I was playing through it, I felt anxious and on edge because there was so little that I could rely upon. So I my goal became to make the player anxious
yeah,
and
exactly.
tense when nothing is happening. So we mimicked a lot of. So I took the idea of the textures from Silent Hill 2, and then also worked in the idea of trying to emulate infrasonic sound, so sound that is so low in terms of frequency, it's below the threshold of human hearing.
Yeah,
But just the presence of a lot of sound in that area tends to make people uncomfortable and tense. Even so, there was actually a study done that I read about when I
okay.
was on the game many years ago. But they took a number of people, put them in a space, asked them how they felt, and they were in generally good moods. then they would take infrasonic sound and play it very loudly into that space. So again, no one can actually hear anything, um, but it's there now. And when they left, almost across the board, everyone said that they just felt anxious and uncomfortable, and their mood generally was affected negatively. I said, this sounds great. So let's try and kind of emulate that for Project Frequency. So there's a lot of really low low frequency content there, to give more of that sense of anxiety, and at the same time we have a lot of those higher metallic sort of textures and whatnot that come in and out of the soundscape to again touch on that Silent Hill 2 influence as well, which is great too because it also leaves a lot of space in terms of the frequency spectrum for the other sound design elements to come through in the final mix.
Okay, I think that answers my question quite well. So obviously everything involving art, whether that's making a music piece or a game or even painting something, everyone's inspired by something. So I just want to ask you, like, what and who inspired you exactly to pursue this?
Oh man,
I'm sure there's a lot of things.
that's a big question. If I had to pick,
If you had to pick one.
if I had to pick just one, shoot. If I had to pick just one person, it would probably be James Horner. He's a film composer. He actually passed away not too long ago, but he was a part of so many fantastic films, but also wrote scores that I thought were, one, beautiful, two, incredibly intelligent, and three, very lyrical. I think especially in film now, there's a lot of the composition a lot of times turns into knob tweaking and finding the right texture or audioscape as opposed to creating a lyrical musical theme.
Right.
And I don't, have a strong opinion on whether or not one is better than the other, but I'm enthralled by the recognizable, the hummable, the incredibly evocative musical theme and melody. And James is able to do that in all of his scores. They have very definitive motifs that are incredibly effective. And so if I had to pick one person, it would be him.
Okay, thank you. So how did you start with your career?
So I started I began playing violin when I was 4. Piano at 8, guitar at 12, and then the computer at 20. I originally went to school for architecture.
Okay.
Because my family basically said, you can't do music for a
As
career.
all families say.
Yeah. So for a couple of years I listened, and then at a certain point I said, I'll never forgive myself if I don't do this. So I dropped out, enlisted in the Army National Guard, and used my education benefits to go to music school, and then after that get a master's in cinema audio production. So the whole time that I was in school, especially during my master's, I seeked out anyone and everyone that I could write music for, which was pretty easy since I was in a film school. So there were all of these directors and teams putting together projects that needed someone to write music, or they didn't need it, but oh my gosh, it would make their film so much better. So I think I did that for all of the different groups that they had meet. I also went to all of the more advanced courses and just told the professors, hey, I want to do this for anyone that wants it. I'd love to just, pitch myself for 5 minutes at the front of one of your classes. And I think I came out of DePaul with something like 50 film and game credits outside of my regular coursework, just because you want to get involved and meet as many people and work on as many things as possible.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Um, so what was the first project you ever worked for?
The first project I ever worked for, mean after outside of school?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to
So
go back
it could
and
be
check.
like it could be like the first game that was quite noticeable.
Um, I, you know what actually happened is I did a talk for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra
Yeah,
here in Chicago, um, and
I think I
I,
saw that on YouTube.
yeah, and I was talking about, um, so two of the games, sorry, one of the games was made from a game jam. Another one was a project that I worked on while I was still in school, and then another project was one that I actually worked on outside of school for an actual developer. That was Project Frequency, and um, that talk, giving it and having that video available, led to some really great opportunities. One, because I'm on stage and I at least give the impression that I know what I'm talking about, and two, being able to tie yourself to an organization like the CSO. Um, so, in terms of talking about how to begin your career, I don't really want to say, oh, I just worked on this game and then good things happened.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially early on, marketing and promoting yourself is a huge part of it. And I would say 2/3, if not more, of your time when you're first starting out is essentially efforts to find and look for work and meet people, as opposed to actually doing it itself.
It's crazy. Um, so what was your experience working with those games? Like, how was it?
Sorry, my cat just jumped up here.
It's okay.
um, how was my experience? It was fine. It was good. It was a little interesting to begin working with someone that I hadn't originally met in person, which
Mm.
was the Project Frequency team. But my contact there, he was also just a really nice guy and had no qualms about jumping on a video call if I needed a little bit more explanation on something. Um, and it was also the first really textural thing that I had done. I'm naturally more inclined for more, I guess, traditional uh, harmony and melody and whatnot in my writing. But overall, the experiences were really good. You take
That's
their
good.
feedback, and sometimes you go through an interpretation process, figuring out what they actually mean. But that's part of the skill. That's part of the
Yeah.
job.
Okay. So, when starting off, how limited, like, were your equipment for recording and composing?
Yeah. So um, when I decided I wanted to pursue music and
Yeah.
audio, it's when I enlisted in the Guard, and so I had to go away for about 4 months for basic training and AIT, or advanced individual training, so like the school you go to after basic. Um, and during that time, they basically paid my rent, and um, I was paid for being there. So when I came back, I just budgeted things so that I could actually buy gear that I needed to make this happen.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that was sample libraries and DAWs, but I had a guitar and a violin, but I didn't have any other actual gear that you really need to start off. But once I came back, I was able to spend a couple $1,000s and be able to get a lot of that gear. And then more recently, a couple years ago, I had to go away for about 6 months for military commitments. And same
Oh.
thing, they're paying my rent while I'm gone, and I just saved up all the money I could and lived like a hermit while I was there. I did not go out and spend money on other things. And when I came back, I had about, I think, $8,000 or $9,000 that I spent on speaker monitors and more sample libraries and some sound treatment and things like that. It's one of those things where whenever you can, you slowly but surely build up your equipment and arsenal, and that's true of hardware as well as software and samples.
Okay. So after I finish college, I'm deciding to go off to university, to study film composition in film and games. Music composition, sorry, in film and games. And I want to ask you if you had anyone to guide you or give you great advice in the industry.
For the industry itself,
or did you just wing it?
I mean, honestly, I did a lot of winging it.
Yeah.
So originally I went for just film sound design because I wanted to be able to say, hey, music or sound, I can do it for you. And that's a mentality you have to have. You need to and have to be able to say yes to everything, no matter what it is, at least when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
But there's only so much presence of both the film and game industry here in Chicago. Most of the opportunities that I've had are from trips that I've made out west. And from making trips out west and being part of a larger music and audio community that's there have been a couple people that have been really helpful in helping me kind of figure out how things work and how to approach different situations. There is, her first name is Allison. Why can't I think of it? Allison. Oh, why can't I think of it? I always just refer to her as Allison. But anyways, she works as an agent. Allison Clark. That's her name, Allison Clark. She worked as an agent for a composer for the TV show Empire, and he is actually based here, which is how I met her, although now she is living in LA. But she was really kind and helpful, especially when I told her that I was going to go to the production music conference to find some music library folks and write for them. She knew specific people that I could reach out to and make contact with. Questions that I had as gigs came my way for agreements for writing for commercials and other things. She was someone that I could go to, and she wrote a couple agreements for me. So if I had to say or list one person that I would say was helpful, and it would be her. I've had a lot of mentors and guides in terms of the creative and aesthetic component of it, but in terms of actual industry and business, it would definitely be Allison.
Okay, so as I said, I'm going off to maybe pursuing this as my actual career as well.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any advice you could tell me?
Yes. Big thing I will tell you is the music that you write or how good you are is maybe a third of why anyone will ever work with you. So don't think that because you have a great portfolio or you're a good composer that means that work is going to come your way. Okay. People want to work with people that they like. People want to work with people that they know are reliable. It's par for the course that you're quote unquote good at what you do. So you really, so much of the job, again, more than 2/3 of your time when you're starting out is looking for and finding work. So that's staying in touch with the people that you know. That's having all of your agreements and everything that you want from every situation in place before you begin a conversation with someone. And it's just the business and marketing aspect of it. That's what's going to determine whether you sink or swim. Again, whether you're great at what you do doesn't matter. It is par for the course in the industry that you can create excellent, stellar audio and music. You will stay afloat if you can master all the other aspects of having a career.
Okay. well, that's about it, really. Thank you for being here and answering my
Sure.
questions.
Yeah,
And
happy to do it. I'm sorry
yeah,
my cat is in and out
no,
of
it's
the frame.
fine. I like cats anyway.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, so obviously, I'm gonna go off to uni. So if I need any help, would it be alright if I can like hit you up?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay,
Feel
cool.
free to shoot me an email. Happy to
Yeah.
help, however, whenever. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's about it. Thank you, and yeah.